Amy, so today we're gonna be having your stage 6 full stage revision, right? Are you ready?
Okay.
Good, let's start. So what would you do if you saw someone taking something from a shop without paying? What would you do if you saw someone taking something from a shop without paying? If I saw
someone
taking
taking
something
something
from a shop
from a
without
shop
paying,
without paying,
I'd what?
I'd say ah. No.
Okay, so okay, fast. So what does it people normally do in situations like that? What do people normally do in situations like that? People normally
People normally
ignore
ignore
in
in
situations like that.
situations like that.
Like that. Ignore what? Ignore the
Ignore
things.
the things
Okay, in situations
in
like that.
situations like that.
The police officers often find themselves in dangerous situations. The police officers often find themselves in dangerous situations. Yes, police
Yes,
officers
police officers
often find
often find
themselves
themselves
in dangerous
in dangerous
situations.
situations.
What do you suppose would happen if there was suddenly no water in the world? What do you suppose would happen if there were suddenly no water in the world? I
I
suppose
suppose
we'd all
we'd
die of
all
thirst.
die of thirst
If there were
if
suddenly
there were suddenly
no water in the
no
world.
water in the world.
If you only slept 2 hours tonight, how do you suppose you'd feel tomorrow morning? If you only slept 2 hours today, how do you suppose you'd feel tomorrow morning? If I
only slept
2 hours
tonight,
I suppose
I'd feel
very tired,
very
tired
tired
tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Yep. So supposing today were Sunday, where today is Monday, right? So would you be now? Supposing today were Sunday, where would you be now? Supposing today
were Sunday,
I'd be here.
I'd be here.
Alright, so supposing you lost your password, what would you do? Supposing you lost your password, what would you do? Supposing
I lost
my
my
passport,
passport,
I'd immediately tell
the
the police.
police.
Yep. So does it get hotter and hotter as we go towards the north of Europe? Does it get hotter and hotter as we go towards the north of Europe? No, it doesn't
doesn't get
hotter and
hotter
as we go towards
as they go towards
as we go
towards
the north of
the
Europe.
north of Europe.
It
It gets colder.
It gets
It gets
colder and
colder and colder.
Yep, the people usually become richer and richer as they become older. The people usually become richer and richer as they become older. Yes, people
usually become older and older.
Richer and
Richer and richer
as they become older.
as they become older.
Older as they become richer. Why? Because they usually earn more and more money. So sad. This good wine usually become cheaper and cheaper as it become older. This good wine usually become cheaper and cheaper as it becomes older. No, good wine.
Good wine.
Doesn't
usually become.
Not usually.
Usually become
cheaper and
cheaper
as it becomes older.
They becomes older.
As
it becomes older.
It usually becomes more and more expensive. Not becomes. Again, it usually becomes more and more expensive. Yeah, but those were becomes. Anyways, another. So how long does it take you to get ready to go in the morning? How long does it take you to get ready to go in the morning? It takes me about
an hour
to get ready to go out
in the morning.
I need to. Okay, so when do you think you'll be ready to take the exam at the end of this book? When do you think you'll be ready to take the exam at the end of this book? I think I'll be ready to take the exam at the end of this book in about 1 week, 2 weeks. A week time.
A week time.
Cool. Are you always ready to lend people money? Are you always ready to lend people money? No, I'm not always ready. Ready to lend people money. Yeah. Do you think most people are ready for marriage when they are 18 years old in your country? Do you think most people are ready for marriage when they are 18 years old? No, I don't think. Most people are ready for marriage when they are 18 years old. If the government of your country decided to build a new national sports stadium, whereabouts do you think it should be? If the government of your country decided to build a new national sports stadium, whereabouts do you think it should be? If the government of my country decided to build a new national sports stadium, I think it should be in. I think it should be
in where?
Where? Saitama?
Saitama?
Where? Nowhere? Inside Tom.
Inside them.
So then, alright. So then, I'm going to tell you Japan. And I'm going to follow this, so describe someone you know, please. Describe someone you know, please. I'll describe.
Describe you.
Okay. What about me? You're
smart.
And then
You're short.
etc.
Etc.
Etc. Okay. Describe the place where you live, please. Describe the place where you live. The place where I live is what? By the sea, uphill.
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 Like uphill. There are some.
There's some.
What? Shops, restaurants. Which one?
Shops.
There are some
shops.
Okay, etc.
Etc.
Okay, maybe. What are you doing? I'm describing
the place
where I live. Do you think it's a good enough description? No, I don't think.
No, I don't think
it's a good enough
description.
Description. Enough description.
Enough description.
That's correct. Is it correct to say the book was written by him? Is it correct to say the book was written by him? No, it isn't correct to say.
Correct to say.
As in, is it correct to say?
Correct to say.
The book was written by him.
By him.
We must say. The book was written by him. Is it correct that 4 plus 5 equals 11? Is it correct 4 plus 5 equals 11? No, it isn't correct.
It isn't correct.
It isn't correct.
It isn't correct.
That 4 plus
5 equals 11.
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect.
2 more, right? Almost. Okay, so near. What did you do as soon as you came into the classroom? What did you do as you came into the classroom? I sat down. As soon as I came.
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 Into the classroom.
Into the classroom.
Classroom. What will you do as soon as the lesson is over? I'll stand up. Eat lunch, etc. As soon as the lesson's over. Yep, when you lend something, like money for example, do you prefer the other person to give it back on a certain date or just as soon as possible? When you lend something like money for example, do you prefer the other person to give it back on a certain date or just as soon as possible? When I lend something like money for example, I prefer the other person. I prefer the other person to give it back
as soon as possible.
Just as soon as possible.
Huh?
Just as soon as possible. When do we use the words they, them, etc. to talk about just one person? When do we use the words they, them, etc. to talk about just one person? We use the words they, them, etc. etc. to talk about just one person. When we don't know
if the person is a man.
The person is a man or woman. Yep. If someone lost their password, what advice would you give them? If someone lost their password, what advice would you give them? If someone lost their passport, I'd tell them that they should immediately go to the police. Cool. So what verb can we use instead of the verb to close? We can use the verb to shut instead of the verb to close. Yeah, move your jaw a little bit more. So if some friends were talking loudly while you were trying to study, what would you say? If some friends were talking loudly while you were trying to study, what would you say? If some friends were talking loudly while I was trying to study, I'd say, could you be quiet, please? Could you be quiet, please? Okay, and if they carried on talking loudly even after that, what made you didn't say? And if they carried on talking loudly even after that, what made you didn't say? If they carried on talking loudly even after that, I might then say,
shut up! Shut up,
you do it.
Oh.
Okay, again, do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? Do you always choose your clothes yourself, or does someone else ever help you to choose them? Yes, no.
Yeah.
Yes, I always choose
I
my
always
clothes.
choose my clothes
Myself.
in myself.
In myself. My clothes myself. No. In my clothes. My clothes
My clothes
myself.
myself.
Yep. If you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now and 40,000 in 10 years' time, who would you choose? If you had to choose between having 10,000 pounds now or 40,000 in 10 years' time, which would you choose? If I had to choose
between
having 10,000
pounds now
or 40,000
pounds
in 10 years' time, I choose to have 40,000
yeah. Pounds.
Yeah. Pounds.
Pounds.
Pounds, like that. 40,000 pounds
in 10 years' time.
Why? Because
what
in 10 years' time, right?
You can get a lot.
Why? You can get a lot. I get in 10 years' time, not now, okay? All right. Why not? Again, so do you think you'd be able to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Do you think you'd be able to recognize me if we met each other again in 30 years' time? Yes, no?
No.
No, I don't think.
I don't think.
I'd be able to recognize you.
I'd be able to recognize
you if we met each other again
in 30 years' time.
Yeah, would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? Would you say you were good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several years? No, I wouldn't say. I was good at recognizing people after not having seen them for several
years.
Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Would you say you spoke English rather well now? Yes, I'd say. I spoke English. Let's say I spoke English. I spoke English rather well now.
Really?
Yep. Than before. Okay, so what can we say instead of I would prefer to drink tea? What can we say instead of I would prefer to drink tea? We can say I would rather drink tea instead of I would prefer to drink tea. Yeah, would you rather have a cold drink than a hot drink at the moment? It's almost autumn, right? So would you rather have a cold drink than a hot drink at the moment? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd rather.
Yes.
I'd rather have a cold drink than a hot drink at the moment. Yep. So which would you rather do this evening? Read a book, watch television, or go to the cinema? Only an example. So which would you rather do this evening? Read a book, watch television, or go to the cinema? I'd rather
watch the television.
Watch television. Then reading a book. Or going to the cinema this evening.
Cinema this evening.
Or go to the cinema this evening.
The cinema this evening. This evening.
Yeah, but would you rather go on a long flight or long train journey? Would you rather go on a long flight or long train journey? I'd rather go on long flight than on a long train journey. Yep. Do you have very much faith in your government? Do you have very much faith in your government? Yes, no?
Don't know.
Yes. No?
Yes?
Yes. Okay, yes. I have a lot of faith.
I have a lot of faith
in my government. Loyalist. But how old is the Christian faith? About how old is the Christian faith? The Christian faith is about 2,000 years old.
Is about 2,000 years old.
Yep. Tell me one common use of the future simple, please. One common use of the future simple, please. One common use of the future simple is to communicate that.
It communicates that.
To communicate that. We have just this moment decided to do something. Give an example, please. Sorry, I forgot to bring the money for you. I'll bring it tomorrow.
I'll bring it tomorrow.
I promise.
Huh?
That's why. Okay, you can pay her. Okay. Sorry. So tell me another common use of the future simple, please. Tell me another common use of the future simple, please. Another common use of the future simple is to make a prediction. Give an example, please. I can't remember what she looks like.
What she looks like.
But I'm sure I'll recognize her.
I'll recognize her.
I'll recognize her when I see her. Yep. So tell me one common use of to be going to, please. Tell me one common use of to be going to, please. One common use of to be going to is to make a prediction. Using information. We already have. Give an example, please. Be careful. That wine glass is going to fall off the table. Tell me another common use of to be going to, please. Another common use of to be going to is to communicate a future intention. Something that we have already not we have already decided to do. Yep, give an example, please. I'm going to the cinema. Yeah. I'm going to go to the cinema next Saturday. Virus. Another. So tell me what you've decided to do this afternoon. It's still afternoon, right? Please tell me what you have decided to do this afternoon. This afternoon. I'm going to where? What? I'm going to. What are you gonna do? Eat lunch? Which one? Sleep. Okay, sleep, etc. etc. What a plan. Oh, that was a very tiring plan. Yep. Good job. Another. In a house, are the bedrooms usually downstairs? In a house, are the bedrooms usually downstairs? No, in a house. No, in a house. In a house. No, in a house. The bedrooms aren't usually downstairs. They're usually upstairs. Really? Except yours. Yeah. Except yours. Another. And is the living room usually upstairs? And is the living room usually upstairs? No, the living room isn't. Usually upstairs. It's usually downstairs. If you had to get a room that was on the 10th floor of the building, would you take the stairs or the lift or elevator? If you had to get to a room that was on the 10th floor of the building, would you take the stairs or the lift? If I had to get to a room that was on the 10th floor of a building, I'd take the lift. The lift. That's correct. So, is this my top lip? Is this my top lip? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Your top lip. It's your bottom lip. Yep. Do you think women look better with or without lipstick? Again, do you think women look better with or without lipstick? I think women look better with lipstick. I'm on. Another. What system of government do you have in your country? What system of government do you have in your country? We have a liberal democratic system of government. Not system. It's Spanish. System of government in my country. Yep. Is sailing a popular sport in your country? Is sailing a popular sport in your country? No, sailing isn't a popular sport. Popular sports in my country. Sport in my country. Would you like to be a sailor? Yes, no. No. I wouldn't like to be. I wouldn't like to be a sailor. A sailor. Yeah, sailor. Yes. So that's gonna be your last few words there for your vision. So continue next time. Right. Thank you so much, Minnie. Bye.